Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of If I Knew Then Mom Edition podcast. I'm your host, Maria, and I'm so excited you're here. This podcast is all about real motherhood stories, those unfiltered, powerful lessons we wish somebody would have told us before we became moms. Whether it's about healing, identity, or those tiny humans that somehow teach us more about ourselves than we have ever imagined, this space is for it all. Today, I am honored to have an incredible guest and friend, Andrea. Hi, Andrea. How are you?
Hi, Maria. Hello. So glad to be here with you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. I'm so excited because you are a mom that has such incredible insights and so much information and just so much knowledge in motherhood that us moms, like I personally have learned so much just by you talking and educating, on your social media. So I'm so excited that you're here.
Thank you. I feel the same way about you. I have learned so many practical tips and tricks. Thank you so much for all of your posts. Really, really valuable information.
You're so sweet. Thank you. So, since some listeners might not know you yet, are you a mom? If you are, how many kids do you have and what are the ages?
Yes, I'm a mom of three amazing, rambunctious, energetic boys that challenge me and teach me every single day, who I love and adore. Ages 5, 12, and 14. So quite a range. I had my littlest one going to kindergarten yesterday, first day. That was very exciting. And I'm having a little bit of separation anxiety. So I'm trying to settle into that still today, mom withdrawal. And my 12 and 14-year-old, my 14-year-old first day of high school this week as well. So it's a lot of milestones, a lot of changes, a lot of transition, but all really, really good. Are really good.
Those are really big milestones.
Absolutely. And a lot for parents to try to become used to and to cope with the changes, because we have to adjust to the changes just like our kids do. But hopefully our kids aren't as aware of our struggles, that we're showing them the productive sides of adjusting to transition. Hopefully. That's my hope. I hope I can be a good example.
Oh,
I
I'm
try.
totally sure you are. I'm pretty sure you are. There's no doubt about that. Next year, my oldest is going to start kindergarten, and then I get like ADHD paralysis of how big this milestone is because I don't want my baby to grow up, but I know that she has to, like all of these things. And yeah, man, like I haven't even looked at elementary schools because I'm like totally in denial that that's even happening.
Right, right. It's hard. It's hard for us to be separated from our kiddos. It's a natural thing, but it's not easy.
Definitely not easy. So do you have three girls, three boys, or mix and match?
Oh, yes. I have three boys. They keep me on my toes.
Oh my goodness. I bet, especially being boys, I've seen that most of them tend to be very active compared to how girls can most girls, not all girls, but most girls can sit down and color and just, do
Right.
their Play-Doh or whatever it is.
Right. And then we add in the neurodivergence of my kiddos. They're all on the spectrum in various ways. We have ADHD, we have dyslexia, we have different flavors of autism thrown in there. They're also unique. And then you throw that in, and their minds are always active. They're always inquisitive. They're always wondering about things, and just, and then you add in the physicality to that. It keeps me on my toes, but they teach me so much every single day. I'm so grateful.
Wow. It must be so amazing. And like the fact that they have like bonuses, like I like to call them bonuses because me, for one, that have ADHD, I'm like all over the place. And when I was in the classroom and I had kids either with autism or with ADHD, I flip and loved it. I absolutely love their energy and their spirits, and they're just so happy and they're just like so ready to do things. And I just absolutely that type of energy.
Right. And what I admire about those of us on the spectrum in some way is that we can't be forced into a box. We are unapologetically who we are. And I feel like that there is a real spiritual reason for us coming in greater and greater numbers. I really, truly do, because we kind of shake up the rigid structures of society. We challenge those archaic things that are rotten at their core. Now, we are just are ourselves. And so society's going to have to try to become more flexible to accommodate us after a while, which is good because we're all so different. We all bring new lessons and new challenges and new things that we can teach each other about in life. So that's my 2 cents about the spiritual reason behind neurodivergence.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think we bring like an extra, yeah, just like an extra spice, like something, an extra energy to this world that is just, it makes it more interesting, like I don't know. That's just, at least that's how I also see it. And I love that you bring that part of it in because, I think in this world we need more of that. We
Yeah.
need others to get out of that box and be their authentic self.
Yeah, think about how much more satisfaction a lot of people would have in life if they allowed themselves to truly express what was going on the inside, you know?
Yeah,
I think the world would be a little bit different, a little bit kinder.
definitely much kinder, not only to somebody else, but to yourself as well. Like growing up, I never understood why my brain worked the way that it was.
Right.
And it was so frustrating. And now that I know, that I did get diagnosed with ADHD, I have so much grace and I try my best to be kinder to myself and more patient with myself.
It starts with us. It really does. You're so right. We can't give to anyone else or to society or our communities or our families until our cup is full, until we are replenished, until we are kind to ourselves. It's very foundational. And I'm so glad that you brought that up. It's so true.
Yeah. And so, as a mom with three little ones, and all of them with different personalities and, the different levels of spectrum, I would love for you to talk more about your experiences of just being a mom and especially being a boy mom.
Let's see. There's so many things, so many situations to choose from. Um, I'm going to start with probably the most traumatic incident. It's tough. So my 14-year-old, he woke up in the middle of the night and he said that his upper thigh was hurting. And so we gave him some magnesium, is what we normally do. And he fell back to sleep. And so, I was like, okay, maybe it was just like a magnesium deficiency because, muscles can tend to cramp if you don't have enough magnesium or potassium. And since he fell back to sleep, I was like, okay, he's probably fine. But things developed and then the next couple of days where then he started to hurt, and it was sustained hurting, but it wasn't that way in the beginning. So we took him to the ER and it turns out he had testicular torsion. And they said, well, that's really strange. He should have been in excruciating pain. And I had to try to explain him well, those of us on the spectrum, a lot of us don't have the same perception of pain. We can either have our interoception is either exaggerated or so minimal, and it just really depends on the person. But for him, his perception of pain is really, really low. He can tolerate a lot, which was really unfortunate. So thankfully, they rushed him to Loma Linda Hospital, and a wonderful urologist took such good care of him. And when something like that happens, you really feel supported in more than just everyone that's physically there. And she looked at me into my eyes and she said, I'm going to take care of him. I'm going to take care of him. Don't worry. Because it was so frightening, having him being rushed in an ambulance for an hour to the specialty hospital, thinking anything could happen right now. I had overheard the doctors kind of whispering and saying, we're worried about a blood clot. This is really serious. And the overwhelming, crushing guilt. How could I have not known? Where did I go wrong? Why didn't I try hard enough to understand what was happening? But she looked at me and I could just feel that there was angelic support there, along with these wonderful, brilliant doctors, that there was this co-creative effort through so much more than what we could physically see. And it was just one of the most scary and traumatic moments turned into something that was almost indescribable with words. And I'll always be grateful to that all women surgical team. Yes, all women. Women are amazing and so intuitive and so open. And I really feel like things happen for a reason. And I'm just grateful that he was in their hands, because after he went through this, he's never going to have to go through it again, because she secured, everything so the testicular torsion doesn't happen again, which is when the spermatic cord gets tangled on itself. And it's more likely to happen with those of us that are neurodivergent because bendy body, bendy brain, we tend to be like more flexible. And if we're more flexible, then guess what? Everything is more flexible. Our gut, our fingers, our joints, our testicles, our ovaries, everything is more flexy and bendy. So we have to take extra physical care of ourselves and be maybe not engage in high contact sports like a lot of neurotypicals might, is something to be aware of. So that was that was a lot. But he so brave, and I'm really, really proud of him because he said, "Mom, can we talk about this, or can you tell what happened on your social media? Because I don't want anyone else to go through this if they don't have to." And he's like, "I bet you if I, feeling less pain and with our flexy, bendy, fragile tissues, my testicle was twisted." He's like, "I bet you there's so many others and they didn't know either." So we need to share this, and I'm so proud of him. And he really, really amazes me. I can't imagine being 14 years old and saying, "Yeah, sure, uh, Mom, let me share this most vulnerable thing that's ever happened on social media." But wow.
Yeah, such an amazing heart. I'm sorry that you guys have gone through that because I can only imagine how scared you all were. And I know that it's easier said than done when it comes to that mom guilt, and that scenario is it would have been very hard even then, even if you did know, for you to identify that that was the reason why it was happening. And that was because, especially if he's not experiencing that type of excruciating pain that everybody describes, I'm pretty sure even if you would have taken to the pediatrician, that probably would not have been the first thing on their list. So you guys, at the end of the day, you guys did the right thing at the right time. And it's unfortunate with the whole situation that did happen. But because of how incredible and strong all of you guys are going to be able to save so many kids and so many people out there from going through this because we are not educated on this. I only learned about this from your social media. And then I started telling my sister with that she has a son and my friends that have kids. And then, after having a wonderful conversation with you, a few nights ago, I learned that even us with ovaries, that can happen too. And I'm just like mind blown. You know, I know, especially there's days that we tend to feel more than others. We tend to replay those moments, especially us neurodivergents. We tend to be very hard on ourselves because, you know, it's engraved in us, and that's what society has engraved in us of you know, but going back and just now the work that you were doing and the fact that your son is like, you know what, mom, please share my story so others don't have to go through I mean, I haven't met your husband yet or your three kids, but man, like just the energy and just the love and how big you guys, like the heart that you guys have is just, thank you for that because not a lot of people would.
Thank you. I mean so much. It's more than I can ever explain because it's been a long, hard road of trying to process this situation and tell myself, like you didn't know, and perhaps there is a greater reason for this whole thing happening. And what if this was something that was in his soul mission to do? Like I don't know, but you can't beat yourself up for something that you were uneducated about or you didn't know. It's just
Yeah. And I get that. It's very hard not to do that. But like you said, especially as moms, and that's the reason I decided to create this podcast of if I knew then, because I have a lot of those episodes like, "Oh, if I knew then, oh man, if I knew then, like so many things that you wish you would have known before. And you get those moments frequently of, man, if I knew that.
absolutely. And I really appreciate you doing this podcast and all of your posts because it's such valuable information and you make it easily digestible too, because us moms are busy, we don't have a lot of time to go through like a novel or like a scholastic paper or something, but you keep it really like succinct to the point. These are some practical steps you can take today, or these are some practical things that you can look for today. And thank you, Maria. Like this is what I needed right now.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you. I appreciate that. I should be more consistent on that. ADHD does get the best of me sometimes when it comes to that, but I tried to make it in a way that it would be easy for somebody with my type of brain to be able to just grab it, take it, good to go, and just easy to be able to remember. For me,
Right.
too much information thrown at me at once is just too overwhelming, and then I'm just going to shut down and forget.
Yes, exactly. That resonates with me. That's what I do.
Boy, and so all of your three boys, right? How was that experience when like they all three got diagnosed? Too old.
So my youngest and my oldest, both redheads, have been diagnosed because they are very overtly, clearly autistic. But my middle child, he has all of the hallmarks of ADHD and dyslexia. But because he isn't obvious, the school system just won't diagnose him. They just won't. I mean, I was finally able to get an IEP for him. So he does have that. However, not having a diagnosis to go along with the IEP, I have found frustrating, to say the least, because the teachers and the school and everyone is still expecting him to reach these mainstream neurotypical milestones, and he can't quite get there because his brain works differently, and he really does need more understanding and more accommodations. And trust me, I have been fighting since he was 3 years old for him, but it's been a real challenge. You know, I'm kind of at a point where I think I there are a couple other like online therapists that you can connect with to like diagnose for like $5,000. And I'm thinking like maybe I should just get a credit card and, do that because I don't know what else to do at this point to get him that diagnosis, but he definitely needs more understanding. It's been tough.
That must be very frustrating, especially as a mom. And I can only imagine for him, having ADHD and not being able to have that accommodation and the extra help or those extra minutes that he may need in the
Right.
classroom or have
Yeah.
more empathy and compassion from the teachers.
Yeah, and we're like when he gets overstimulated, what will help him so much is if he can have like 10 minutes so he can walk around and get out of his system and then he come back and he can refocus, like things like that. They're unwilling to provide to him even though he does have an IEP. It's just like it makes me wild. It makes me wild because I can so clearly see there are simple tweaks that we can do that would help him and they're just unwilling and just it's yeah.
Listen, with your perseverance, I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to make it happen because I can tell that you're mama bear when it comes to it and you're going to get it done because you know that if they need help, you're there to get it, no matter what the cost is. And so has he only like how many therapists has he been seen by that decide just not to? And of
Internal
course, since
processor.
not that you're saying that, I can only see why they don't see like it's an issue just because they are of course, they're doing the same cookie cutter test of especially him being a boy is like you have to be hyperactive and you have to be moving, bouncing from ball to wall to be like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
you have ADHD. When
right.
in reality, there's different type, be physically or it could be mentally, and yeah. And so I'm sure like I would probably do the same. Try to look for a therapist outside the schools that will take their time to get to know him and will
Yeah.
take their time to properly diagnose him. You have this, one thing that is incredible that I can hear your meditative music in the background and the fact that you have that around you and you have this presence. I'm pretty sure there's days and there's times that you probably like super, overwhelmed, but even then you still have tools to be able to recenter yourself. I can imagine because you have to not only understand what it is, but how it works, and then also how it works with you and your personality and what's going on with your household and your kids and, like all of these different factors. And, so many, when I comment to others, I'd like to mention that I have ADHD so that way people understand whether if I'm late or whatever it is, or if I'm in the middle of conversation and I just switch it up out of nowhere and they're looking at me like, you didn't even finish the thought, but okay. But it's, some might say like, "Oh, you're making that an excuse." And it's like, "No, I'm trying for you to understand."
Right.
Right? After, correct me if I'm wrong, because at least this is for me. As soon as I became a mom, and then I it my symptoms of like ADHD became stronger. And as I get older, it gets stronger. And I know that it happens to a lot of us, right? And then hearing those stories from other women, especially other moms, it makes me feel seen, and
Yeah.
it helps me feel more, it helps me give myself more grace. Oh no, I can talk to you forever. I really can. Like, you're easy to talk to. You're just incredible human beings. So, wrapping it up, what is one message that you would like the listeners to take away from today? I love that. Thank you so much. So, on that note, if this resonates with you, I would love for you to like, follow, and share this podcast with a fellow mom. And if you have a story to share, a lesson, a laugh, or a moment that changed everything, send me a message and I would love to have you as my next guest.